It's safe to say that all of our mental states have been challenged throughout this pandemic. But what are you doing in order to protect and help your mental health? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about today. Welcome to the Teach Bigger podcast.
Welcome to the Teach Bigger podcast. I'm Chris Pratt.
I'm Chris Mosley.
And I'm Tyler Lamont.
So we talk a lot on the show about teacher health, and we try to really present a balance between our professional lives and our personal lives. And let's face it, this past year has been a challenge for everyone, from virtual learning to remote learning to in the classroom, face-to-face, wearing masks. And there are a lot of teachers that are sort of at their limit, if you will. I know even today I was sitting in meetings and we're trying to go over data and do all the things that teachers do, and you can just feel it in the room. People are just kind of over it. And so I wanted to share some of these kind of like headlines that I found just to kind of give us a perspective. I found from a news station in South Carolina this headline. It says, "Everybody loses." That sounds encouraging, right? Okay, study finds nearly a third of teachers considering resigning, retiring early due to pandemic. And then CNBC reported that 27% of teachers are considering quitting because of COVID. And then lastly, I found a Time magazine article that said that teachers are retiring rather than going back to school. So by no means do these headlines ring true for every teacher, but I do think that it's definitely something that people are looking at. And, maybe you as a listener, you're kind of going, you know what? I've been really contemplating, do I want to do this? Because I think like if this was your first year teaching, I think that becomes really challenging because it's not a true picture of what it is to be in the classroom. Okay. And if you've been teaching for multiple years, maybe even you're getting close to retiring, you go, everything is changing so quick. I don't know if I want to deal with this anymore. And, I know I even heard today, there are teachers and administrators that are like up and leaving in the middle of the year. And so, the thing is, yes, there comes a time, and we even did a show about like, should you stay or should you go? And there are life decisions that you have to make. But at the same time, our kids need us. And we need to make sure that we're guarding ourselves so that we don't make a decision based on our mental health to where the kids are the ones losing because they're losing great professionals who have so much to offer. So today on the show, we have an extremely special guest that honestly, I can't wait to dive in and listen to what she has to say. So we're going to introduce to you today Miss Sarah Harper, and she is a certified music therapist. And you all know that our background is music, but that doesn't necessarily mean that music is only for music teachers. Music is for everyone, and the power of music can really help us and heal us in a lot of areas. And so we've invited her on the show today to explore the area of music therapy, and not only what does it look like in an educational setting and what does it look like for students, but how it can be used for us as teachers and educators to help us stay calm and to stay level and to stay in our best mental health, no matter the situation. So Sarah, welcome to the program today. I just want to give you an opportunity to just kind of introduce yourself and just say thank you so much for being on the Teach Bigger podcast.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me. So yeah, I'm Sarah, and I am a board certified music therapist, and I currently work for a school district in North Houston. And we currently have 3 music therapists actually on staff there. We have 2 of us are full-time and 1 of us is part-time. But so what we do at our district is we see children in the special education program. And more specifically, elementary age students. So we focus on that early intervention. So if we can help them, achieve their goals early, they're more likely to carry those on with them. So music therapy, just like a general overview of what it is we use music as a tool to help people of all ages, all cultures, anything, as a tool to help them work on non-musical goals. So those can be physical goals like walking, moving, anything like that. They can be cognitive goals like anything academic, anything that uses your brain, social goals. So we work with a lot of students who have autism. So their goals are social interaction, engaging with other people, making eye contact, stuff like that. So we use music to help them do things like that, or emotional goals as well. There's a school, a specific campus at our district that is for students who have emotional disorders. So they exhibit severe emotions like violence, cursing, anger, stuff like that. So we travel there as well and help them by using music. So basically, music therapy, we use music to help people work on their non-musical goals. So as far as ed's concerned, you would help learn music, right? Read, write, play, all that kind of stuff. Well, we use music and all that knowledge to help people work on those non-musical goals, whatever they may be. Um, but where I work is with students in the special education program. So those goals are primarily academic or social or emotional. So we go into classrooms and we'll work with groups of students in the classroom. And those goals will be, learning ABCs, 1, 2, 3. So we use songs to help them learn those. The ABC song. You will never forget the ABC song,
Right.
ever, ever, because music stimulates pretty much every single part of your brain. So not only are you stimulating your auditory cortex, you're stimulating your sensory cortex, stuff like that. So you're going to remember it. You're more likely to remember it. So that's one of the things that we do.
Let me ask you this, Sarah. Can you give us a little bit of understanding, just, I mean, maybe in a brief form, like
Right.
when did music therapy like emerge, and kind of how did that develop, and when did that start becoming a thing in education?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it's been around since for a long time, but it hasn't been specifically defined
Mm-hmm.
until more recent years. So music therapy as a profession was established in 1950,
Okay.
which was like not that long ago as far as like professions are concerned.
Sure.
And it's still, that's why not a lot of people know about it. So we advocate as much as possible. So that's when it was formally established as this evidence-based practice of using music to address those non-musical goals. So through our organization, the American Music Therapy Association, there's like an outline of how we get educated and how all that stuff works. But that all started in 1950, which is crazy. I feel like it's been around forever, and I wish everybody knew about it. But yeah, so that's why we try to advocate as much as possible.
So how did you make the decision that that's the route you wanted to go for your career? Because I mean, this is extremely specialized, and I think, like you said, I mean, it hasn't been around, and most people don't even realize that it is a profession. And so, how did it grab you, and kind of what was your journey like?
Right. So I graduated from high school, going throughout high school, I played, I was in band, I was in a drum line, loved music. I wanted to do something in music. So I went to community college and I started studying music ed. And, throughout the way, I was like, I don't know if I want to teach. Like, that's a whole nother, I don't know, personality that I don't think I could do.
Mm-hmm.
Teaching takes a special person to teach. And I found out, one of my friends, she told me about music therapy, and I was like, what is that? And she told me, it's a way that we can help people using music. And I had always kind of wanted to go into the medical field, but didn't want to be a nurse, didn't want to do anything that had to do with blood and poking people.
Right.
And so I looked up, I just Googled it. I said, music therapy. And that's what I read. We can help people using music. And you have to learn a lot of medical terminology. A lot of my students, they have, a list of diagnosis. So I have to understand, what they're going through and what those goals are going to look like for them. So learning all kinds of medical stuff, psychology, biology, anatomy, that's all what I looked at. And so I was like, this is perfect. This is using my love and knowledge of music, and also that want I have to help people in a more kind of medical way. So then I literally Googled, I'm from Corpus Christi originally.
Mm-hmm.
I Googled, music therapy schools in Texas, and Sam Houston popped up. And so I looked into their program there, and they had the best program in Texas. So it was just a matter of getting accepted into SAM. So I started practicing, and my percussion professor was amazing. He helped me, pick pieces to get into the not only the school of music, but also I had to get into the music therapy program.
Yeah.
So it was amazing. Got through all that, and that's when I started studying music therapy, and it was just perfect.
Yeah.
So,
So, and go ahead, Tyler.
Well, I have just a question, and I think this is something because, like, me and you went to school together, and this is
mhm,
something I've always wondered, but I've never really asked for whatever reason.
mhm,
And now, especially now that we're talking about emotional goals and things like that,
right.
is there a way that you can describe what a normal session looks like with someone who has an emotional goal, and what exactly does that mean when someone has an emotional goal?
Right. So I go to that school I was telling you about, with those children with those emotional disorders, and so that session would look different than what a typical sped classroom session would look like. So for those emotional goals, this school particularly, they have a lot of it's very structured. They wear uniforms. They have a specific schedule. They don't have like sports or athletics. They sometimes get PE. They don't have music or band. They have an art teacher that comes in maybe once a week, and then there's music therapy. So for that session, I like to teach them music. So I will teach them rhythms, I'll teach them note reading, but in doing that, I teach them respect. So if they don't know how to control their anger or their frustration, if we're doing a drum circle or something, we take turns. Okay, you're going to respect the person sitting next to you. When they're playing, you're not playing. If I'm teaching them, cohesiveness and working together, we're gonna play together. So that could just start off as you're gonna play with me. Ready, go. And we're just gonna play downbeats. So that's what that kind of session would look like. And if anything comes up, we'll stop and we'll talk about it. Um, Something I also like to do is play what you feel. Sometimes I'll start off a session with drums and I'll be like, okay, so and so, play how you're feeling today. And they'll just kind of go ham on it. And then we'll talk about it. Okay, why did you play like that? Well, I played like that because I was mad. Okay, what does mad sound like? And I'll have them do it again, or whatever it may be. So using those musical terms, right, like loud, soft kind of things to talk about how they're feeling and what they're going through and how to process that. And is that a respectful way to respond to your friend who's playing? So it could look something like that, where it looks a lot like music ed, where I'm teaching rhythms, notes,
Hmm.
but I'm actually teaching them respect and cohesiveness, and following directions. That's the big one. Lots of our friends don't like to follow directions.
I bet.
So when they don't, I take the drum away.
So,
It's that positive, negative reinforcement kind of thing that
Mhm.
we do. Um, so yeah, that kind of session would be structured way differently. It's definitely more client centered. And that means, I'm following whatever they're doing, however they're feeling today, that's what we're going to go off of.
So, do
Um,
you pick your instrument based off of whatever disorder that they might have? Because you said drums, like to play how you're feeling or whatever.
mhm.
Like, I mean,
Right,
drums is a very primal thing, and it takes a lot of
right,
energy to do it, especially like hand
right,
drums and stuff. So, like, if
right.
you can tell that this kid is like upset, then maybe wailing on a
Hmm.
drum for like a minute is gonna make him feel better or
Yeah.
whatever, and then you can talk about. Do you think about stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I also like to ask them. I ask them, what do you guys want to learn how to play? I've brought in ukuleles, I've brought in hand drums, cajones, and uh I've also brought in steel pans. They love steel pans. And tone chimes. That one's really great too for like taking turns and playing together and listening and stuff. So really it just depends on, for that specific population, what are you feeling today? Are we
Mhm.
feeling more aggressive, or we might play some drums? Are we feeling more kind of emotional, where a melodic instrument would really kind of help them express what they're feeling? Um, so it just depends.
Are you worried ever that they are gonna, and maybe this has happened where they're gonna like destroy the equipment or like throw it across the room or something like that, and then now you don't have it?
Mhm. Always. So before I start a session, I always say two rules. We're going to respect each other, our instruments, our teachers, everybody in the room, and we're going to follow directions. And if they do not do either of those things, then they get the instrument taken away. And sometimes that happens. And so I take an instrument away and I would say, all right, friend, you take a moment, take a break. And a lot of it is just giving them a second to kind of mellow out
Mhm.
and calm down and kind of think about what they did. And then I always say, when you're ready to come back, come back. Um, so definitely kind of guiding them through that processing, and they know if we break an instrument, well, we get it taken away and then maybe it doesn't come back. Because music, especially in a population like that, in a school like that, is a privilege, which is something I tell them all the time. Music is a privilege, playing instruments is a privilege. Getting all access to all different kinds of instruments is a privilege, and they know that and they understand that. So
That's
they're
so
really grateful.
That's so interesting because emotional disorders and emotional goals, especially now that social and emotional learning is a thing, like
Right,
it fascinates me so
right.
much, especially with the kids that I have. I don't
Mhm.
deal with a lot of sped kids, although I mean I do have them, but that's not
Yeah,
that's not my primary job.
yeah.
But the normal Gen Pop student that I deal with, their
Mhm.
emotional things that I have to deal with are more social based. It's
Mhm.
more anxiety, not
Mhm.
misplaced anger and frustration. So
Right.
it's interesting to kind of hear how that works. And something
Mhm.
that I do in my classroom now, especially now that I'm a media teacher, is I let kids always listen to music if they're working on a project. And of course, if I'm talking, then they're listening to
Yeah.
me. Headphones are out. But I also play very light, like lo-fi, very chill music that's going on in the background,
Mhm.
and it always keeps my classroom. It just gives it this like atmosphere kind of
Right,
thing.
right.
So that's so interesting, Mr. Mosley. You look like you
Yeah,
got something to
yeah,
say.
yeah. So no, I was wondering, Sarah. So maybe you can give us a bit of insight of like what does like music therapy look like outside of the like school setting, like for like
Mhm.
adults. Like what would that look like?
Depends on the adult. So there are music therapists that work in hospice, so like
Oh,
older
okay.
geriatric. So they're working on kind of end of life goals. So maybe maintaining something that a client needs or has, like being mobile or talking, stuff like that, or end
Mhm,
of life, like bonding with family.
mhm,
Sometimes there are clients who are in the psychiatric facility. So they're dealing with patients with schizophrenia, patients with depression, anything clinical in the like more mental health, the
mhm,
psychiatric setting. So those sessions also look different because they do lots of songwriting, lots of improvisation is a really big tool that we use there too, because that's another part of kind of what I talked about before. Play how you feel when you're
mhm,
improvising, when you're playing, you're not really consciously thinking about how you're feeling, but it is coming through in the way you play. If you're angry, you're probably going to play loud. If you're feeling kind of chill, you're probably going to play at a very steady tempo. So that's what that looks like. And there's also music therapists in hospitals as well. We
mhm,
have there's a few at Houston Methodist actually. There's one on the oncology portion. So clients who are dealing with cancer and treatments, music therapists will travel to their room and just kind of say, "Hey, how are you doing? Would you like to listen to some music? Would you like to sing or play?" Just to kind of get them relaxed and feel kind of normal.
mhm,
There's a music therapist also at Houston Methodist that work in the rehabilitation center. So people who have had strokes or traumatic brain injuries, they're learning
mhm,
how to move again or maybe talk and
mhm,
speak. So we do collab a lot with PTOT and speech therapists there. So really kind of anywhere. There's music therapists in the NICU too who help regulate babies and get them out of the NICU as soon as possible. Like music therapy has been proven to help babies get out of the NICU about a week or so. Then doctors say. There's so much
mhm,
prison too. There are music therapists. That's more of the psych kind of too, where helping them process, anger or what's happening right now with them. It really just so much. I could go on and on and on for days. There's even
uh-huh.
music therapists who do private practice too, where they might travel to people's homes or they might see a student in a school, just depending on who it is. Uh, So kind of anything, anywhere we're needed, we're there.
Hmm. I don't know if this was like a music therapy thing or just a connection with music, but it did make me think about, like, as you were talking, there's this video I saw. I don't remember exactly where it was, and it was an older lady, and she was suffering with dementia.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, I saw
And
that.
then
Mm-hmm.
she's a prima ballerina,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
like they put the music, on it, and like
yeah. She starts
she
dancing. I think
like
I
she
saw that.
sat up. Yeah, she like sat up
Yeah,
almost, and like,
yeah.
I guess the connection with that. I don't know if that's, that's something that was done or something like that in that
Yeah.
stage. That was a form of music therapy,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I thought how powerful that was.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're
Hmm.
trained to. So when we, are introduced to a client, we're trained to, if they're older, our the music that we prefer is going to be from the music that we listen to from the ages of like 15 to about 25. So depending on how old they are, we kind of gotta, okay, gauge what kind of music they're gonna prefer. So she was
Hmm.
probably young and was dancing and remembers that piece, and because
Hmm.
that's her preferred music. That's what you remember the most. It's what's entrained in your brain. So yeah,
Hmm.
that probably was, which
Hmm.
is so amazing. I love watching videos like that. It just gives me
Hmm.
so much hope, and I love it.
Hmm.
So, Sarah, one thing that's really interesting is, because as you're talking, I think it's easy for people to kind of think, okay, this is very much, in the special education realm and, kids with severe disabilities or problems or
Mhm.
whatever. But I've only had one experience with music therapy at all. And it was actually not at all for that realm. And so what happened was a few years ago at one of the districts I was teaching in, I had a friend who did drum circles. And so I asked our principal if for our beginning of the year professional development, if he could come in and do a massive drum circle for our entire high school staff as kind of the
Mhm.
kickoff for the year. And it was crazy because basically you have about 100 teachers in there, like adults, and everybody gets some sort of instrument, and it was all drums, whether it was a tambourine or a hand drum or like a huge like conga drum, whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
And he led the staff in that, and you could see people are very uncomfortable at first, and they're kind of like, whatever, what is this mess? But by the end of it, it was like people were like jamming, they were having so much fun. I mean, people that you never see smile were smiling, and all because they were engaged in those activities. And I will be honest, that year that we did that, it was the most cohesive and unified staff we have ever
Mhm.
had in that school, because they had that experience together. And so, for maybe somebody who's listening and kind of doesn't see the transfer into everyone's life that this sort of activity can have. So maybe you could speak just for a moment to, you know, the normal teacher or the listener who, maybe they're kind of at a point of stress, and it's like, how do you use music therapy on an individual basis where maybe I don't have to have a quote unquote music therapist come in, but maybe just give us some thoughts of like, what does that look like in our everyday lives, and are there some things that we can do to use music to set us in a more positive path?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing that I would definitely say as far as like, relaxation, is like I drive, I live in South Houston and I work in North Houston, so I drive. So on my way to work, I'm listening to music that kind of mellows me out. Science has proven that, if you're listening to music that has a really high tempo, your heart rate's going to increase. If you're listening to music with a low tempo, your heart rate's going to decrease. So I'm always listening to music that's going to mellow me out or get me prepared and relaxed and ready for the day, because I know I'm about to walk into craziness, hot mess,
Mm-hmm.
with whatever it may be. So that's
And,
definitely the first thing that I love to tell teachers. I'm like,
well,
just
and I'm
take them
glad
home.
you said that, Sarah, because I don't mean to interrupt you, but I feel like
Yeah,
that if
yeah.
I don't say this now, I'll probably never get this thought out. And it is this: like, I walked into a teacher's class the other day, and like, she's got some hyped up music going on in the background, which I'm
Mhm.
like, hey, music, cool. But then it's
Yeah.
like the room, it was just like the room was so lively and active. And I'm not saying that was a bad thing, but I think teachers need to be cognizant of that. Like if you play music in your room, yes, that's a plus. But then like with the kind of music you're playing and the beat and the tempo and whatever, it's going to affect the kids. And if you're sitting there playing that music and then you're like, I don't know why these kids are acting crazy all day. Well, that could be why. So you might need to switch that. So I just, it was a perfect example because I literally walked into that the other day and I was like, oh.
Yes, it is. So we have teachers, I send them YouTube links all the time and they're like, I need a song for my kids to get their wiggles out. So I make sure it's got that high tempo, it's got lots of movement, it's got lots of craziness going on because that's going to help them get it all out.
Yeah.
And that's something that we do on the day-to-day anyways. We're working on impulse control. So I will start playing guitar, and when I stop, the kids will stop. So anything that the music is doing, they're going to reflect it. I don't have to tell them, hey, stop. The music is going to do that. So if you want your kiddos to be calm, definitely play more mellow. Like Tyler was saying, that lo-fi music, that was reflected in your classroom because low tempos, nothing craziness, like nothing crazy going on, no weird sounds. They're going to reflect whatever it is that you're providing them. Because music is so, it has so many nonverbal cues, and that's what's really, really important. So that's what I do on my way to work. I'm trying to mellow out, because even driving kind of stresses me out. I get a little frustrated driving in Houston, so I have to make sure the music I'm listening to is relaxing, because if not, I will walk into the door just frustrated and upset because of whatever traffic was like. But
Okay, so and I hate to cut you off again, but
yeah, you're fine.
that is interesting that you say that you're playing like music, and then when the music cuts off, it's like high energy, and like you cut it off, and you're like trying to train them to control that impulse, right? So we talked on the show a few episodes ago, and a few days ago, I had some like boys that got a little rowdy. Now it wasn't crazy, but they got a little rowdy, and it kind of disrupted everything in my classroom. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, they're not even that loud. Like, why is this disrupting everything? And it's because my students hadn't experienced loud yet. They hadn't experienced what it was to like the classroom to be loud and then to be calm. They had only ever had calm. And I feel like, especially when I was a junior high band director, a lot of those kids didn't have that impulse. So, and I didn't make the connection until you just said that right there, that if you don't teach that at such a young age of like, hey, we can be loud and like running around, like that's fine. But then like, boom, we need to know when to be calm. We're about to go to bed, it's bath time, like whatever, you know what I mean? Like we got to do math or whatever. I think that right there is invaluable, especially at such a young age. Like right now, I'm kind of dumbfounded by that. That's like one of those things like, duh. I don't know.
Yeah. One of the interventions we do every session in the classroom is the egg shaker song. So I give everybody gets an egg, and I'm singing, we're gonna shake our eggs today. We're gonna shake them way up high, shake them way down low, and then I'll sing shake to the music, shake to the music, shake to the music, Niagara please, and I stop, and everybody has to stop, and it works like magic. Anytime I stop singing or playing, they stop. Shake to the music, Niagara stop, and then I start playing quiet. We're gonna shake really quiet, real quiet. And I don't have to tell them. I don't even really have to say shake really quiet. If I play really quiet, they're gonna play really quiet. Loud, soft, start and stop. That's the impulse thing. So yeah, music, all those nonverbal cues are all in music. I don't have to tell them anything. They're just gonna respond to it. So that's why that drum circle you were talking about is so amazing, because at first you're like, oh, this is super awkward, super weird, and then you kind of get into it, and you have people who are making eye contact. They're playing with each other, they're reflecting, responding to whatever they're playing, they're going to copy what they're playing, so you have that cohesiveness. So it started off awkward, and then those nonverbal communications brought a sense of acceptance, a sense of safety, a sense of belonging, maybe a little bit of problem solving. How can I make that more interesting, or whatever it is. And that is such a great skill, like you said, for teachers, because especially right now with COVID, there's nothing but problem solving going on, whether it's in their I was going to say session plan, their plans for the day, they're teaching
Lesson plans.
Lesson plans, yes, they're lesson plans. We have session plans, but yeah, they're lesson plans. I spoke with a teacher the other day. She was She had a lesson plan, changed it the day, like the morning she got to school, because she had a couple kids that were new. Every week we've had more students in the classroom, more students in the classroom. So the beginning of the school year, we had, probably less than 10 kiddos in the class. And now we've got about 15 to 20 kiddos in the class, which is a big difference.
Yeah.
Your lesson plan, okay, I'm planning for like, 5 or 6 kids in the class, and these kids are online, so now they're having to change every day. It's a constant change. So those problem solving skills through music transfer. So yeah, that's one of the things my teachers are super stressed about, and myself too, because when I'm coming into the classroom, do I need to bring 5 instruments or 20? I don't
Hmm.
know what to do, and that is incredibly, incredibly stressful. That, and because COVID, we got to clean everything. We got to make sure
Oh, I
our
didn't even
friends
think
are
about
social
that.
distanced. Yeah. So every time I go into a new classroom, I have to sanitize my instruments, my hands, anything that the kids touched. I got to sanitize. I got to wipe down, make sure they're social distanced, which with kids, that's kind of impossible. At least littles, they don't know what personal space is.
Yeah.
And then wearing a mask too. That's something that has been super hard, because, the beginning of the year is when we learn kids' names. And so without seeing their face, it's kind of hard. Okay, who is who and where? I just get their eyes and their hair,
Yeah.
and so that has been really hard too. And those kiddos getting those nonverbal cues, like from your face, they can't read my face
Hmm.
because it's under a mask. And so I know that's been very stressful and hard for teachers as well, is not getting that, communication, and
Yeah, that social little bit, but that's what
yeah,
I think is so amazing of what you're doing with this music therapy, is
right.
that you're teaching these social cues that
Hmm.
I believe are going to be immediately transferred over to emotional and social cues
Right.
to real life without the music, through your shake song, through these things.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the you're like on the front line of fighting the good fight with COVID social disorders that are probably going to come up within the
Yes.
next 2 to 3 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah.
So like that's I don't know. I'm totally taken back by like all the things that you're doing.
Yes.
So I kind of want to shift gears just a little bit, and we can come back to what we were talking about. But I remember when we were in college, especially around midterms and finals, that y'all would have like these stress relieving whatever. I always thought you
Mhm.
guys were just sleeping in the room when I would walk by, but it was always like, whoa, there's some stuff going on. Like that is
Yeah.
mega mellow.
Right.
Like, can you explain what that stuff is? And have you been asked to do any type of stress relieving things for your district, or would you? And if you did, like, how would you do that?
Yeah, so I haven't been asked to do that specifically for our district, but that would be amazing. So what you witnessed was us learning relaxation techniques. And so there's a couple that we use with music. One of them is called progressive muscle relaxation. So basically what that is you play recorded music, again, very mellow, it might be piano, might be like flute, something that's not super crazy annoying or very fast. And so what that is we go through the entire body of, so somebody will speak and read basically off of a script, and they'll speak in a very calm voice, kind of like ASMR ish. Okay, we're going to start with our hands, and we're going to squeeze, and we're going to squeeze as tight as we can, and we're going to release. And so there you're building up lots of tension and you're releasing it. And so you go through the entire body. You're going to shrug your shoulders and then release. Um, so that's progressive muscle relaxation. So you're getting your physiological body to literally tense and relax. So by the end, you're more likely to be relaxed. Another one is called guided imagery. And so what that looks like is, again, we have mellow music playing in the background always. And someone will read off a script and they'll say, okay, I want you to think of a beach. Think about the waves that are crashing. Think about, what you're listening to. Do you smell the ocean? Stuff like that. So you're guiding them through this really peaceful, calm image. Um, Another one, I forget what the last one's called, but it's basically where you're imagining kind of like heat. You're like your body's warm or cold or whatever it may be. We don't use that one quite as much because it takes a lot of thinking, a lot of like you have to really imagine, your body kind of relaxing. But yeah, so those were the weird things that you were seeing us do because we had to kind of practice on each
Mhm.
other, and around terms time is the perfect time to
Yeah.
practice that, because then by the end somebody's going to be relaxed. So yeah, so I would love to do something like that for our teachers. It would be amazing, and I think there are apps like that for now,
Mhm.
where maybe actors or somebody will read something real calming for you and you can listen to it and relax. So thank God for technology because we have access to things like that.
And that's something that like a teacher could maybe do
Mhm.
at home or something in order to kind of de-stress
Yeah, like
some way.
YouTube videos, there's apps for that. I think I've even seen one for like, bedtime. Someone will read something to you and you just kind of drift off to sleep. I like ASMR personally, sounds, being a musician, I love sounds. So, and it's not something visually stimulating, it's just my ears. And so if I can't sleep at night or I'm trying to relax, I love listening to ASMR, like tapping and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So that helps as well.
So, oh, go ahead, Mr. Mosley.
Now we're kind of talking about that. So, like, speaking of stress and stuff, like, I'm kind of curious. We talk a lot on this show about just kind of pouring into ourselves because we
Mhm.
as educators, we always are pouring out to others, and we say if you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
And so, I'm kind of curious as someone who is helping with social and emotional, you know, disorders and trying to help people get through things. What is it that you do
Mhm.
to, like, I guess, remain low stress or like de-stress and or relax? I'm just curious.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely, like I said before, on my way to work,
Yeah.
work on music. And then
Uh,
sometimes even on the way home, I will either listen to nothing or
mhm,
again, calm music because all day I've been hearing kids scream or I've been
mhm,
singing and I just don't want to hear anything.
mhm,
So that's something I do every day. And then I exercise. That's something that my husband and I do, and it helps us connect with each other. And I get to tell him about my day. Hey, while we're at the gym, this is what happened. It was really crazy. I'm really stressed out, and so
mhm.
we get to share our experiences because he also works. He's IT. He works for a school district as well.
Okay.
So we get to we know the school realm. So definitely exercise. Something I love too is just talking and sharing with other professionals. So like I said, there's two other music therapists, one including myself. Um, we always at the beginning of our day we meet at the office and we talk. Well, this is what happened yesterday, or this is what's probably going to happen today, or
Mhm,
what do you think about this, or this situation happened, how can I fix it or how can I make it better, what are some techniques or interventions I could do. So always sharing with colleagues, people who know what you're going through. I've even had teachers, just talking to teachers, they're like, oh, it's been a crazy day, and I'm like, tell me about it.
mhm.
We got some time before kids come in,
Yeah.
what happened today? How can I help you? And something that we do in our district is we always support our teachers. So most of the time it's academic, right? What are you guys learning in the classroom? This is what we'll sing about. But a lot of it too is when we come in, we kind of give teachers a moment to breathe because I'm taking over the class essentially. So always giving them a moment to breathe or to talk, whatever it may be. So I always love to talk with like I said, with my husband, with colleagues, because it helps, it helps me feel less alone. And I think that's something that teachers are really feeling right now. They feel like so alone, like they're alone with the kids. They don't know what to do. That's things are crazy. Um, and then more self care stuff. I like to clean. Yeah, it's something I can do without thinking. I don't have to think
Yeah.
about
Mhm,
what my plan. I don't have a plan for cleaning. I just kind of do it.
mhm.
Which I know some people are like, okay, weirdo.
No, I do the same thing,
You
except
know,
I clean when I'm procrastinating.
yeah,
When I have something big
yeah.
that I have to get done, I'm like, "Ooh, those dishes really need to get done. Maybe I should go do those first."
I'd rather clean than work. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then family time. My husband and I, we I'm from Corpus, but I live here with him and his family. So we'll have a family game night. Go to dinner. We eat out a lot. We just love to go and eat. That is another way that I kind of decompress and not think about work. And then the last thing is obviously not taking work home with
Mm-hmm.
me, which is something especially this year has been very difficult. Like I said, there's so many new factors, whether it's kids, it's COVID, it's where these kids are learning online, but these aren't, or whatever it may be. How can I change my session?
Hmm.
So not taking work home with me has been difficult, but it's something I try to practice every day because if not, I will be working all day, every day and get
Mm-hmm.
burnt out really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, those are some things that I do try to to
Yeah.
de-stress and make sure that I'm ready for my kids. So when I walk in that door, I'm therapist. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not really Sarah. I am therapist first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
That's man, taking things home. That's hard, and I think that's like I think I speak for everyone who's listening, and especially who's in this podcast right now.
mhm,
That we're the type of people that when we see that something needs to get done, it's like a plan immediate. We know exactly what probably needs to get done in order
yep,
to get it done. So the only thing that's holding us back is us actually doing it.
right.
And when you see that, it's hard to tell yourself, you know what? It'll be there tomorrow. I
Mhm.
don't need
It
like
will be. Mm-hmm.
it will be, and chances are, even if you did it at that very moment and got home at 9 o'clock, you'd wake up the next morning extremely tired with another fire, like
Mm-hmm.
a whole nother town on fire that now you're expected to put out and
Mm-hmm.
figure out or whatever. So don't take things home, and I do know that that's hard because my school tells us all the time to always bring a bag home with us that will allow us to work from home because you never know, we might not come back the next day.
Mhm.
And for me, it's I'm the media guy. That's really easy. Everything's backed up on Google, like, so I don't
Mhm.
really have to physically take anything. But I know, like, even if you're not going to work on something at home, just carrying that bag with you and it being by the front door, it's there, and
Mm-hmm.
it can be difficult, and it can be hard just to have it there and to try to detach yourself and do more things that are for you, like go to the gym or listen to calming music, or hang out with family time and game time, and do things of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had teachers email me at about 9, 10, 11 midnight. At 9, I'm like, "Ooh, sorry.
Mm-mm.
I do not work for my school district after, whenever I get off."
yeah.
But and a lot of the time is they just don't have time during the day to respond to emails. I'll email them during the day and they just will respond very late at night. And it's so
Mm-hmm.
I do not like that. I'm like, it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. My question or whatever it is not important, not that
Mm-hmm.
important. You can let me
Hmm.
know the next day or whenever you can. But that is a very common problem right now that I'm seeing uh, in my schools.
Okay, so I will speak on behalf of emailing at like 1 a.m. or something like that. Because especially when I was a band director, um, administrators to be like, "Well, you don't check your email." I'm like, "No, I'm teaching children. Like, what are you talking
Exactly. Yeah.
about? Like,
Exactly.
how in the world am I supposed to check
Yeah,
my email
Yeah.
in
I'm
the
bad at
middle
it.
of
Yeah.
class?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I
yeah,
can't do that." And then it was one of those things where it was like, if not now, then when? Because then, like, I'd get done rehearsal, I'd do all these things, blah blah, and it'd be like 9 o'clock at night, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I haven't checked my email since 7 a.m. If
Mm-hmm.
I do not read that and reply to it,
Listen.
then when am I going to reply to my principal to
Mm-hmm.
let them know that I'm not going to be there tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how am I going to do that? And luckily I found a little bit more of a balance with it with COVID, because everything's kind of online. So that's a little bit of a pro with that, is that it gives me a little bit more leeway of why I should check my email more. And I kind of factored in with some of my classroom procedures, like, okay, they're doing this, I got like a minute to check to see if anything's like emergency. Okay, nothing's an emergency. Okay, let's go back to what we were doing, kind of deal. So, um, give us an example of I guess for us it would be like a teacher moment, or like a musical moment, or an
Exactly.
example of where you saw the power of your music therapy, or like a success story or a moment with a student? Do you have one of
Okay.
those?
I do. I have so many. It honestly every day, it's we I always look for like the little wins, whether
Hmm.
it be I've had nonverbal kiddos sing. I will prompt them musically and they will sing, and teachers are like, didn't know they could do that. That happens all the time, whether it's identifying a color, a shape, or just saying anything. I had one student last week who I would think he wasn't listening to me, because he never makes eye contact. He never sings. He'll do what I ask, but a lot of the time it's hand over hand, meaning I have to basically take his hand and do it for him. But the other day, we always sing the same song in the beginning of our sessions and at the end. And I was like, okay, you guys, it's time to sing goodbye. And we sing and sign. It's called the More song. So I show them the sign for more, and they're ready to go. And so I said, okay, let's go. And so I started singing the more we get together. And the student started singing and signing at the same time. And all of us kind of stopped in the room because he did it. I don't know what it was. It could be the familiarity of the song, it could be the tune, it could be the signs, it could be anything like that. They had no idea that he was, receiving information, or just, I didn't know. He never gave me any inclination as to whether or not he was paying attention.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that was so amazing to see that, oh my gosh, after all this time, he knows
Mm-hmm.
the song and he can talk or, sing and do some signs, and it was an incredible moment. Let me see. I've had Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's absolutely amazing, and it makes me think of a student that me and Pratt had in the high school band,
Mm-hmm.
who would not speak,
Mm-hmm.
and correct me if I'm wrong, Pratt. She would sing solfege for you, correct? Like when you like asked her to sing in band,
Yeah.
and you've been gone for a while. She speaks to everyone. She is like the happiest girl now. She laughs or whatever, and hearing you say that, now I'm sure she was being worked with, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it makes me wonder if her singing in band with a 40 other people in that class, no, like gave her the strength or the whatever to
Mm-hmm.
be able to talk.
Mm-hmm.
I never once thought that that could have had any type of impact at all.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's amazing. I've seen kids say a color or do something, or like today I was singing about the rodeo, and we were singing about the animals at the rodeo. So I was singing Old MacDonald had a farm, but I said Old MacDonald went to the rodeo. And I was like, Old MacDonald went to the rodeo, E-I-E-I-O, and at the rodeo he saw a, and one of the kids, again, who doesn't speak, said cow. And I was just like, yes,
mhm,
that's a cow. And like it's just incredible because
Mm-hmm.
then he probably knew that song, E-I-E-I-O, he knew it was familiar, and it just comes out. It's incredible. It's and I don't know, it could be anything. It could be animals, it could be a particular song. If it's something that they're familiar with, it could just spontaneously, they could respond really, really well. And of course, kids love saying, moo here and moo there. And can't tell you how many times I've saying Old MacDonald had a farm. They love it. They love
Mm-hmm.
it. So I will keep doing it till I'm blue in the face. But yeah, things like that happen so much, and it's so great to see, and it's the little things like that I just take home and I'm like, oh,
Are you
really?
doing any in like virtual things, any virtual class that they assign you to any students that to work with one on one or anything like that right now?
Yeah, so at our district, we work with kids as a group and also individuals. So the individuals have an IEP. You guys probably know
Yeah.
what
Mm-hmm.
that
mhm,
means.
mhm,
So what happens with that is either a parent, teacher, someone refers them to music therapy, and we evaluate them formally. So we go in, we observe them, we figure out, okay, this is something we could possibly work on, and then whatever we observe, we add music to it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they respond well, then we refer them for music therapy services. And so if that happens and everything gets approved, it has to get approved by the art committee. Does that sound
Yep.
familiar?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. By the art committee, right? So we have a meeting and everyone's like, okay, I present data. This is everything that happens. Everything looks great. What do you guys think? And we all agree, yes, the student gets approved for music therapy. So if I see a student one-on-one, I have some students who are homebound, meaning they are too medically fragile to come to school in person at all, even without COVID. So there are some students that I see on virtually because they cannot go into their homes right now because of COVID.
So they wouldn't come to school even without COVID.
Right. So I do travel to their homes. With COVID, I don't, but without COVID, I would. There are some that I do even now with COVID, but parents have to say, it's okay for you to come into our house with a mask, clean, all that stuff. But it's just, so right now it's kind of per the parents' preference. But I do have a couple that I see virtually because of that reason. So those sessions look a little different. I have make a bag of instruments and dropped it off at their house so that when we're playing or I need them to have one, they have it. So that looks a little different. It is a little hard. One of my kiddos, she does not like the computer. She will just close it. When she's done, she will just close it. And so mom will text me and be like, sorry about that. I guess we're done. So it is difficult. In person is always so much better. In-person therapy is obviously my preferred mode. But, right now, just given COVID and everything, I try my best to be as entertaining as possible. I kind of take cues from YouTube. I'm like, okay, how can I be a YouTuber today? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Let's, trying to engage them as much as possible because it's so hard. So those might look a little different. I might use more recorded music than I would live, just because I'm trying to get them to do anything on virtually. So yeah, I do have some kiddos that I see. I've also done some classes virtually. There have been some times where I was exposed to COVID, so I had to work from home. So I did all of my classes virtually, which again, I brought out the YouTuber in me and I talked to the camera, sang to the camera, and the kids, they were so great about it. They interacted, like they would normally. But again, I prefer in person. But yeah.
That right there is so amazing because in season 2, right when the pandemic hit, I rocked Mosley's world by talking to him about YouTube and Twitch and streaming video games and stuff. And he was blown away and amazed. And then he immediately became addicted. And now he watches all these video games on YouTube.
Incorrect. Yeah. I was about to say, hold on, wait. Blown away, amazed. I was trying to see where you were going. No. Absolutely.
But he's still he had never heard of that before. And I was talking about that's how we needed to reach our kids. And then here you are, because I know you haven't listened to that episode. Maybe you have, but you came to the same conclusion that you knew that these kids needed to be engaged and held that engagement somehow. And what's the best way to do that? Well, be like the same thing that's making them hold the phone to their face to begin with.
Right.
Yep, so, exactly. Well, I can thank my husband for that because I didn't really know too much about YouTube, but he's, like I say, he's a nerd, computer nerd, IT guy. So he watches YouTube videos religiously. So we watch comedians on YouTube and stuff. So now I follow YouTubers and Tyler, So I do try to, bring out the inner YouTuber because I know these kids are watching people like PewDiePie. What is he doing that is getting them to watch him? Still to this day, I don't really know.
No, he's so entertaining.
I mean, he is. I'm not, but I'm no PewDiePie. I'm trying to figure it out. But yeah, so that using things like that, I use a lot of especially with my littles, puppets, and getting close to the camera makes it feel like that it's really close to them, or using my visuals, whatever it is, engaging a lot with the camera like they're here. And that in itself has been a new skill that I have learned because I'm not a YouTuber. I think that's so weird. It's like talking to nobody, and I've had to film I've had to film videos I had to film one today because tomorrow we have a asynchronous learning. So the kids learn without Zooms, without teachers. So I send out YouTube videos of what I would have done. So that's what I've been doing, recording videos and making sure that I'm bringing out my best YouTuber, my inner YouTuber, to engage them as much as possible. So
I
yeah,
love
that's
it.
a new skill. Thanks, COVID, for that.
Well, and I love that you said
Um,
that that's a skill, because we agree that that is a skill that
yeah,
doesn't come
it really
natural.
is. Like I have much respect for them. Not that I didn't before, but I just thought, oh wow, they're just like, doing
Yeah,
stuff.
there's nothing worse than making a video and staring directly into the black void of the
Mm-hmm.
camera the entire time, like,
Yep.
oh,
And
it's
like,
stuck in my soul.
yes, yes. Because like normally in the classroom, I have kids. They're like, yeah, moo,
Uh-huh.
the cow goes moo, and
Right.
now it's just like nothing.
Yeah.
I, I have
You have to be
nothing to
your
go.
own. You have to be your own energy. You have to think that
Yes,
everyone's agreeing with what you're saying, and
yes.
yeah,
The
it's
kids are like,
hard. It's
yeah,
hard.
cows, butterflies. I'm like, yes, and now
Mhm.
it's weird. So I have much respect for YouTubers.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Uh,
that's
Okay,
new.
so I got one last thing, and then I know Pratt's like you. Okay, not a lot of people know this about Pratt, but this is what he does whenever he's learning something, or he like someone's like that's talking about something that he doesn't know anything about. He sits down and he gets really quiet, and he'll get his notebook out, and he'll just like let everyone chip and chatter and talk and whatever. And at the very end, when everyone thinks that they're done, he chimes in with this groundbreaking thought
Uh-huh.
that just like opens everything
And
back
then
up.
he was like, while you were talking, I googled this, and then
Oh
like,
no.
and they'll have like 2 hour dissertation, and So anyway,
So
you're right, Tyler.
So let me get this last question in before
Hmm.
he goes
We'll
all
let him
Chris
sign
Pratt
off.
over it.
Hmm.
Hmm. So, can you give us some type of step-by-step process to overcome a difficult situation? So maybe, I know my sister's an educator, and she says that she gets email blasts from her school district all the time talking about mental health, and she's
Mhm,
like, "You want me to take care of my mental health? Well, stop putting things on my plate." Well, I think we can all like relate to that, but that's not going to happen.
mhm,
So let's say that you're put into a just a difficult situation. You're an asynchronous, your camera died, whatever, and now you have to do all these things, and kids are there and whatever. Is there a rule of thumb, like a way to like calm yourself down to get through this stressful whatever, like in the moment thing?
yeah. So big thing about being a music therapist is a lot of times we're walking into anywhere and we don't know what's going on. And especially in the classroom, I can walk in and there could be 30 kids in there. I could walk in, there could be one. I
Hmm.
kind of have to be prepared. So as a music therapist, I always have a bag of instruments. I always have a bag of about 20 to 25 instruments, whether it be egg shakers, whatever it is. So when I walk into a situation and I'm assessing, okay, this is what I have and this is what I don't have. This is what I need to adjust to or adapt to. Whether if I have a moment to do it, then I quickly analyze, assess, and think, okay, what am I going to do? But if I have, a little more time, I'm a list person. I like to know and visualize what I have and what I can do with that, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
I'm a big planner. Like this, I just showed you guys, this is my brain. I'm trying to organize my thoughts.
Hmm.
And if I can see it, then I can hopefully get my thoughts across. So if anytime I walk into a situation or if I'm given a situation, I like to write down what I need to do and how I'm going to do it. So whether it's an outline, if it's a list, I need to do this, this, and this, and this. Then I have to get that taken care of. I like all of my days, I have lists of you need to do this today, email this person today, make sure you plan for this, make sure you put in data for this student. I think organization is a big, big part of it. Even if you have a minute or an hour or a day,
Hmm.
I think any time you can kind of step back and breathe and analyze the situation, that is going to help you tremendously. And that's a great thing about working with kids is that they don't really know. They're like, I could be there quiet for a minute. I could be there quiet for an hour, and they just be like, okay, whatever. They're very forgiving, and I love that about them. So yeah, I think just organizing, taking a breath to just kind of think it through and not stress out, not panic. which I do panic. I have panicked before, and it's not fun. Like the other day I walked into a classroom to work with one of my IEP students, and his case manager was there, and there was a bunch of adults, and I was like, what's going on? And they're like, hi, we're just here to observe, and we heard that the student loves music, and we want to just observe you today. And I got really nervous and I panicked because all these people were here to watch. And so I kind of took a minute and I was like, okay, we have a plan, we know what we're doing, and took a breath and then went into it, and I just focused on him, and it was great. So
So take a breath,
take
make
a
a
breath,
list.
make a list, or just kind of think things through. What do we have? What can we work with? What can we change quickly?
Mhm.
Just being, rational in your thoughts. Because anytime you have those irrational, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. Oh my gosh, I can't do it.
Mhm.
Then you go to that dark place. You know what I mean? But if you work with what you got and you say, I can do this. This is what I have. This is what we're working with today. Let's just do it. And I think that's something that teachers are struggling with, and something that I have too is, am I doing enough? Am I planning enough? Do I have enough? Did I give them enough today? And
Yeah.
always the answer is yes. Even if I was working with them for 10 minutes or an hour, they got 10 minutes of music today. They got to shake those eggs. They got to sing the more we get together. They got something today. It's
Yeah.
something that's better than nothing.
Mhm.
And that's something that I hope teachers know and recognize, that everything that they're doing matters, and that students they're getting something out of it, and you're not a failure. Because I have walked out of many schools feeling defeated, feeling like nobody got anything, and then the next day this kid is singing the more we get together, and it's crazy. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love what you said, that something is better than nothing, and it kind of, you've given us some really good examples today of that, how music can really shape a kid's thinking and open up doors for them and push them through hard things. And I'm a firm believer of this, like whether we're talking about children or whether we're talking about adults, we're talking about people. And music isn't just for kids, and music isn't just for an adult. It's for people. And so I guess my last thought is this: as an educator, and speaking to educators, which we do on the podcast, how could you maybe give us some guidance in incorporating music? I mean, you gave us the examples of like low stress music and things like that. Are there any, is there any other specific practices that you would encourage people to start to put into their daily routine or their weekly routine that could really help mitigate some of their stresses?
Oh yeah,
Especially from
absolutely.
the standpoint of, music itself.
Right, right. Something that I've talked to before, because like I was telling you guys, Chris Dow, he's my best friend. He's a band director. And the other day he was just telling me, so stressed out, the kids are crazy and everything that's going on. And, I'm teaching, doing lessons online and in person. And, he was asking me the same thing. How can I kind of just relax and remember why I'm here? And something I told him was, you're a musician, right? He was like, yes. And I was like, well, then play your instrument. Play it for the fun of playing it. Remember that how much you love playing snare drum or playing a marimba or playing whatever. Remember why you're there, why you're a music teacher, because you love music. So play music for you, not for your students, not for anybody else, for you. And he did, and it was, it helped him a lot. He just brought out a rudiment and started playing on snare drum, and he fell in love with music again. So I think that, especially for music educators, remember why you're there. Play your instrument for fun. No music, no nothing, or if you want to, whatever it is, if you want to just improvise, whatever. That's something I really, really recommend for music educators themselves, and then teachers in general. Just finding, you know, a song. I don't want to say like a hobby of playing an instrument, but sure, if you love to play guitar, if you wanted to play some drums. Drums is my favorite. I mean, I'm a percussionist, so I'm kind of biased, but I think drums are it's an easy go. You can just start playing a drum, however you're feeling, whatever it is, or listening to that song that, helps, that takes you to that happy place. We associate memories with songs. Like there's songs that'll come on and I'm like, oh, I remember I was in high school and I was doing really dumb things to this song. Like just,
Yeah.
so, listening to a song that takes you to like a happy place, or playing an instrument or whatever it may be, to help you kind of relax and decompress and get back to why you're doing what you're doing, you know.
Yeah. That's great. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. We have really enjoyed your insight and your expertise in this, because this is an area that I think, even as music educators like we are, we don't really think too much about this. And so I think that for most teachers, we're not thinking of this as a tool that we can use for our students and for ourselves to help create a better learning environment. And I think if anything today, you've really opened our eyes to see the role that music can play in the learning environment. And whether it is for kids with special needs or disabilities, but even if it's just for a normal student, realizing, like we said before, like whenever you put on relaxing music or whatever, it'll change the tone of the classroom. And so I hope that today teachers can walk away going, I'm going to experiment. And I think that that's really what it's about, because you can't go wrong. Just experimenting and finding out, how can you help your kids focus better? And music is a big way that will help. I definitely think that it doesn't mean that you should always have music going, because then it just becomes noise. It needs to be those special moments where, kind of like you said, and actually what you said today is going to help me with my children at bedtime, because my kids amp up when it's time to go to bed. And so I think we need to put in some cues to really help them go like, okay, now we're going to shift gears. And it's the same thing, if you're in the classroom, maybe you're shifting stations or you're shifting activities, and that this music brings you to that point in the lesson. And so we just thank you for these ideas that you're giving us, and just thank you for kind of opening our thinking to that today. So, by all means, we want to stay in touch with you and hear more of your success stories. So, it has been such a pleasure getting to know you today and just kind of finding out your world. So thank you so much.
Oh yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. I hope it helped. I know
Oh
I get
yeah,
kind of ramble. I get really nervous, but
No, it's absolutely fantastic.
it was great.
So,
Yeah.
That's great. So thanks for listening to the podcast today. If you have questions for Sarah, or you want to know more about music therapy, you can find out about what she does on our website at teachbigger.com. If you want to get in touch with her, if you want to email us at info@teachbigger.com, and we can relay those questions to her and give you some advice. Also, if you haven't already, we encourage you to subscribe to the podcast, so that way you don't miss an episode whenever it comes out. And lastly, check us out on social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. We would love to connect with you. We'd love to hear the things that you're doing. And hey, if you try something in your class related to music therapy and it's a success story, or even if it's a failure, let us know. We would love to hear back from you and kind of find out what's going on in your world. So thanks for listening today, and we'll see you back next week.